Hi, welcome to SD WhoCon Virtual. It's the V. It's the fifth year. We're almost done with the convention, Whit. I can't believe it.
Almost.
The whole weekend's almost done.
It went by fast.
This is like the next to last or almost next to last panel for the weekend.
It's crazy.
So incredible. It's been a different experience for sure.
Most definitely.
I think it's been a good one. A lot of really good panels this year.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun to see everyone, because I haven't seen much of anyone this year. So
it's a little remote, but it's still, there's some personal connection with everybody, which has been really fun.
Oh, I still get to see people, WhoCon people.
And we actually got to interact with the audience a little bit yesterday on the D&D adventure, which was really cool.
So much
fun. Audience gave us some really fun suggestions and stuff. It was fantastic.
We had some witty audience members.
We had some witty actors on screen with us too, yourself included.
Oh, thanks.
So before we get going, I just want to make sure that I mention to everybody that SD WhoCon supports Pegasus Rising, a nonprofit organization that provides equine therapy for PTSD and brain trauma patients. And it's a really important program, one that we hope you will check out at pegasusrising.org. And if you're capable of making a contribution to that organization, all of us here at SD WhoCon would greatly appreciate it. Now let's get into today's panels with one of my favorite people around, Miss Chase Masterson of Pop Culture Hero Coalition. I'm super excited to talk to her about it, and I'm not gonna wait at all. I'm just gonna jump right into it. Are you ready, Whitney?
All right, yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Yep,
here we go.
Let's do it. All right,
I'm gonna bring her in.
Okay,
we're doing it now. Hi, welcome Chase and Raymond to SD WhoCon Virtual. It's the 5th.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with San Diego WhoCon. It's always wonderful to work with you, David and Whitney. It's fantastic to see you, old friend.
Good to see you.
Really great to be back here with Raymond.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So Chase, this is SD WhoCon, so I want to make sure people are aware of your connection to the Doctor Who universe. You're part of the Big Finish family, right? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I am part of the Big Finish family. Years ago, about 8 years ago, I met Fraser Hines at a Doctor Who convention, and it was actually an overall sci-fi convention. So he and I hit it off, and he said, "Have you ever done Big Finish?" And I said, "What's that?" I didn't know about it, and found myself next talking with the producers and meeting some of the other actors, and they gave me this role opposite Tom Baker, which was
amazing.
Just, I know, so amazing. And it goes from there. I was really thrilled to be able to work just once opposite Tom, but then they said, "We've got this other role that we'd like. Are you available in 2 weeks?" And I just happened to be spending extended time over in London, and it was the role of Vienna, who was the 7th Doctor's nemesis. So I got to play opposite Sylvester McCoy, and we thought it was going to be just one episode, but they turned it into a series. We're now in season 4, and Vienna's also appeared opposite the Master, Eric Roberts, and some other wonderful stuff. It's just such an incredible world of storytelling because
right.
I don't mean to go on, but I'll just say this. The number of stories that we get on screen are finite, and Big Finish allows great storytelling at a very small budget, and you use your imagination for the visuals. And
yeah.
I love this world.
Yeah, we're a huge fan of Big Finish here at SD WhoCon. And actually earlier today being the day that this is going out, is our interview with Jason from Big Finish.
Oh, wonderful.
And yeah, that was an incredible interview. It was so much fun to talk to them. Hopefully they'll be out here for SD WhoCon next year when we get to do things in person.
Yeah. Oh, that would be lovely to actually meet them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Chase,
great, and Jason is such a fine director too. He really is incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole squad does incredible work.
Yeah.
The production value on those Big Finish audio dramas is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not a wonder to me that so many great actors from the Doctor Who universe have made the jump to go and continue doing stories with them. And
Yeah.
and I think it's so cool that you're a part of that whole family
Thank
of
you.
storytelling.
I'm so grateful. And really it is the stories that draw our hearts. It's not
Yeah.
the effects or even the visuals. It's the heart of the stories, and Doctor Who has always been, top notch at that. So it's exciting.
Yeah. You've lucked out and you've ended up in a couple of different really great storytelling universes, between Deep Space Nine and the Doctor Who universe. It's just kind of incredible.
I'm so grateful. It's just such a joy. And more than that even is the friendships that we make along the way and the good work that we get to do, turning these stories from entertainment into real world good. And that's why I'm so very happy to have my friend and colleague Raymond Litster here with us today.
Yeah. So Raymond, you're here because you and Chase both work on Pop Culture Hero Coalition, which is a fantastic organization. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Chase, why don't you start, because you started it off, so then I can jump in where I jumped in.
Well, thank you.
Along the way. Yeah.
Thank you. In 2013, I founded Pop Culture Hero Coalition with Carrie Goldman, an incredible educator. We formed this as a nonprofit to use stories from TV, comics, and film to make a stand for empathy and inclusion and real life heroism over bullying, racism, misogyny, LGBTQI+ bullying, cyberbullying, and other forms of injustice. We use stories that kids and adults love to make this a world like our iconic worlds of TV and comics and film, where justice rules, where we can all make a difference, where we don't have to fear the bad guys. And we do that by teaching kids and adults that we can be those good guys. We can be the heroes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think it's an absolutely lovely idea. I've recently been rewatching a bunch of Next Generation, and my husband and I always sit there and go, wow, they were just so ahead of their time in being aware of the inclusionary aspect of storytelling. And looking back on them, it's like, wow, we need these types of stories right now. And I think what you guys are doing is so, so needed right now in our school systems.
Thank you. Thank you. It really is the fan community that has taught me of the potential of a project like this. Since I've been going to conventions so many times, I've had fan groups come up to me and say, look what we did for this charity or that charity. Look what we did for your charity. And they would just hand piles of money that I would give to Caring for Babies with AIDS or another project that I was supporting at the time. So it really is your hearts that have shown me how much we can do for the world when we band together. It's extremely exciting. And Raymond has jumped on board and really helped me take that to a whole new level with projects that he is starting. Raymond, do you want to talk some more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Probably the most exciting new project that we're working on right now, which is all in my mind, is a new comic book we just are about to put out. It's about to go out to print actually in the next week or so. The comic book is focused on and titled Identity. And I was inspired to write this comic book at another con, RuPaul's Drag Con. And seeing the different people who weren't represented still on television in any sort of great numbers, people that don't have role models and people to look up to. And I thought this is something that we really need these kids to have. These kids are committing suicide every day, all across the world. And they need to know that they're just as valid and equal to every single one of us. And it's kind of going back to a Star Trek or Doctor Who, when you walk in the room and you look at everybody with the same eyes and the same look, no matter what color they are, or if they're a robot dog or a Orion slave girl. It was her choice. They all want to be whoever they, it was an example. Everyone is their own person and we're all the same, So this comic book, sorry, I sidestepped, but the comic book, we just have a really exciting announcement. I think this is actually the first time I'm saying it out loud. We're partnering with Centerlink, which will be providing this comic book to all 250 LGBTQIA+ centers across the entire country and Canada and beyond at no cost to the centers, so we can get this comic book into the hands of kids that need it at no cost to them all over. So we're really excited about that. And we've partnered with 4 of the personalities from RuPaul's Drag Race as mentoring heroes, which will all be featured in the comic book.
That's fantastic. It really is fantastic.
I'm really excited about it.
I know you guys work with schools and you've been working on curriculums for schools. Can you talk a little bit about what that process has been like, what it is you're trying to achieve within those curriculums, and how has the whole COVID situation affected what you were doing? Because I know you were like right on the verge of launching stuff when everything kind of changed.
Yes. Thank you, David. Yeah, you and I have kept in touch quite a bit during this period and the early parts of COVID, particularly. And so I think you probably saw our struggle. Our curriculum was piloted last year in Chicago in a group called Communities in Schools, which is the largest program to prevent dropout, the largest dropout prevention program in the country. And we were just ready after 6 years really of working and 4 years of writing this curriculum, enlisting psychologists and educators to write this curriculum. We have a fantastic curriculum creation team. We were just ready to put it out on a wide level in schools. And our target date for that, I could show you the emails. Our target date was March 15th. And yes, and then the pandemic hit. And we were all of us in every field were just sitting there going, oh no, what now for our particular lives, careers, work, everything. And I realized in early March that this work would be more important than ever, because with all of us being isolated in lockdown, we have less access to the mental health support that we need. And so right away on a dime in early mid-March, we started adapting our school curriculum to be used at home. And I am very proud to say and honored to say that our team came through immediately. We began adapting it and got it out within a month. It's available for free on our website under the Heroic Journey at Home. And it's to teach kids and adults resilience and healthy identity and self-compassion and empathy and other extremely important, really crucial tools that last all of our lives, because the mental health habits that we make during crises are those that we're going to carry with us.
Right.
And on the other hand, if we use our mental health tools and we keep in touch with our support systems, we can get through this and be empowered to know that we can get through anything. And that's how we want to address these crises. Mental health is the second epidemic. And, you know, poverty could also be the second epidemic. But there are so many side streams to what's going on with COVID itself. And we want to be a part of protecting people from mental health breakdown. And we are. It's so exciting. And not to go on about it, but what's really exciting to me is that we get to give this work away for free. I believe that mental health support should be available to anybody who needs it at any time, because it's a tough world to live in. And, you know, it's not necessarily our faults when we don't know how to access support, but
right.
It's exciting to be one of the places that people can get it any time of day or night for free.
Yeah, well, and mental health issues don't follow any sort of set schedule. So you feel the way you feel when you feel it. And
yes.
It's not an 8 to 5 kind of situation where you can schedule an appointment to get taken care of. Like when you need help, you need help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like because your program is free and it's something that somebody can access online, that maybe it removes a lot of the stigma? Because I know a lot of people have concerns about, say, going to a therapist or something like that because of the stigma around mental health. Has anybody commented on that, or do you feel like it kind of fills in that gap for people who like, I want to look for something, but this is something that's a little more accessible and people don't judge me over?
Absolutely. I'd love to address that. Raymond, do you want to address that as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, even speaking from personal experience, going to talk to someone is always something that makes me uncomfortable. And I can think it would make a lot of people feel that way. You don't know necessarily that person. It's kind of like I always kind of compare it to going to a hairstylist for me. You go in and you have to go in strong and know what you want. To me, I think that, like, because they're all different and they all have all different approaches. So something like this, you can bring in your own needs and expectations and get out of it what you will, versus going somewhere and having that time. Are we going to be a good fit? Do I need to instruct them and tell them what I need up front? Like, I can do that. My mom, for example, wouldn't be able to do that. She goes and says, oh, make me look good. And then she doesn't like her haircut. You know, I'm using that as just kind of a comparison, if you know what I mean. Same thing with a counselor. If you go in, I like those puzzles and tests and things that I have to fill out to get me somewhere to the end of the journey. With this, you can go in at your own. You don't have that expectation that has to be filled of connecting with the other person. Chase, do you agree with that?
I would like to say you are welcome to come broken, because I have experienced brokenness more deeply than I could ever imagine, far more deeply than I could ever imagine recovering from or ever feeling better ever again. And that's why I do this work. And what's interesting to me is that our entire team is comprised of people who are enacting their post-traumatic growth. And what that is after you've been through, or during something that you've been through that is particularly traumatic, you have the ability to make choices for your life, as hard as it may be, choices of self-compassion, choices of resilience. You know, resilience is not something that you're born with. Resilience is a tool that we learn how to use. And there are ways to learn how.
Right.
You don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You don't have to have your questions handy. You don't have to know anything. All you have to do is show up. And there will be people to support you in this community saying, I've been where you are. I know how it is to feel like there is no hope, to feel like there's only dark, to feel like even if I were to get from here to there, that it wouldn't be worth everything it would take to get there. I'm only here today because I kept going. And that's because I was able to take the hands of people who were holding them out just like we're holding them out to you. And it's such a joy and such an honor to be able to do that. And I just want to say that I have learned that our strengths lie in our brokenness, because it's in our brokenness that we have compassion and empathy and the willingness to make a better life for ourselves and each other. Your brokenness is only because you care. And this world needs people who care. So get in touch and let us know your story, and I'll let you know mine. You're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems is we convince ourselves that we're alone in the pain and suffering that we're feeling. And it's not until you open up and express what you're feeling and be honest about it that you start to discover that you aren't alone in it. There are people who understand. There are people who can empathize. There are people who can be there for you with strength when you don't feel like you have it for yourself.
Absolutely. And I've had times, many times, where I've thought, I don't care if there's anybody else. I don't care if I'm not alone. I don't care who's holding their hand out. I don't care. That's how angry I've been and how afraid and alone I've felt. Yeah. And all I can say is, if you feel like that, you're not alone in that either. And just by taking the one next right step, that is your path to healing. You don't have to know what you're going to do tomorrow or even later tonight. If you just want to take the next right step, And if you can't think straight, go wash your face and try again. You know, wash your hands, do anything you can to get yourself in a neutral mindset so that you can take a positive step for yourself. And then check out the tools on our site or find us on Twitter or Facebook. There's hope. There's wonderful hope for wonderful lives. Not just okay, worth it, but wonderful.
And to further answer your question, one final thought on that. One good thing about, I mean, there's definitely some negative things about everything being online, but one positive thing is you can just be an observer if you're not ready to take those next steps. You can see that you're not alone without interacting. You can go to social media, to pages like ours and other organizations that are out there, and you can see that there's other people sharing their stories, and you can get comfort and gain power and confidence in that. You don't necessarily have to, like you were saying, make that connection with someone if you're not ready to do that. You can still, now more than ever, I think it's easier with social media and even going to our website or other, similar groups to find answers to some of your questions and knowing that you're not alone.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why sci-fi and a lot of the storytelling that we all gravitate towards within the nerd community are important, because they tell the story of the human condition in a way that's relatable but detached from our own personal life, and makes it easier to kind of recognize what we're going through in a safe way. And so between comic books and movies and television, you can kind of start the process of figuring out how you're feeling and how you're not alone, to a point where it can help you kind of go find help as well,
Yeah, it's a good way to grow up too, because you're looking at these stories that everyone is different, and you're growing up and you're exposed to that right off the bat. So when you move to a different neighborhood and people aren't exactly the same as you, it doesn't even faze you. That's what happened to me. So I grew up on Star Trek, and when I moved from the suburbs back into the city, it didn't even faze me. So I think it's a good way to grow up. These are good moral stories.
And when you think about it, you're so right, David. When you think about it, there isn't one single hero in TV, comics, or film, or in your real life, I'm sure, who hasn't been through the ringer, who hasn't thought it's over now. It's over for me. I have no hope. I'm alone. This mountain is too hard to climb. And it's wonderful to look to those as examples and to look to other people who have made it out and think, well, if they can do that and write their own story, what do I want my story to be? What do you want your story to be? You get to decide.
Right. Yeah. The hero's journey is about the hero going through pain and suffering to rise above it and become a bigger, better, stronger, more capable person. We're all facing that journey right now all over the world, right?
Absolutely.
In a way that none of us expected.
So now, you guys were saying how you're implementing this curriculum into schools and things like that, and obviously, it's been sort of slowed down because of COVID. When you can start implementing again in schools, whether in person or through virtual learning, how would you encourage teachers to do that? Is this like tag teaming with this is English and self-help work, or is it its own thing? How do you recommend educators implement this?
Great question, Whitney. Thank you. What we have is a 32 lesson plan curriculum which teaches children skills over a period of time. The curriculum will fit into an English class because it involves literature and different things throughout that they can point kids to, so it can be tied in with English classes. We also have really tailored it to health classes. It can also fit into zero period or homeroom period or after school. Right now, it's available for middle schools. We did that purposely as our first outreach because middle school is hell. And most of us can point to middle school as a very formative period of time, not in a good way. So we started there, and now we're branching out to lower grades, K through 6, and we're doing a pilot with YMCA USA. So that puts us in pretty good company. We are actually creating mental health for National YMCA. And
Wow.
yeah, that pilot is in the process of being created now. And we are contracted with them. And it will be out starting in the first week of January. And that work is something that we are making available to K through 6 schools now, simultaneously, if you want to pilot this program along with us. So if you are basically a K through 9 teacher, you're welcome to contact us and to request a copy of this curriculum. We will be selling the curriculum at some point in the future, but it's still at the point where we are giving the work away for free because we just want to spread the healing. And so that's extremely exciting.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
How has the reception been to the programs that you've been putting together? Are you finding the schools receptive to the idea of these curriculums that you're putting together, or are you getting kind of some resistance to it?
We have an incredible amount of support for this. I have to admit, during the early stages of this, people, funders, and other large organizations would sit across the table from me and they'd say, you're going to change the world with comic books. And I'd have to say, yes, that's why comic books were created. You know, in the late 30s and the mid 40s, the work of all of these greats, you know, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all of these heroes, William Marston and you know, creating Wonder Woman, and all of these characters were created in response to fascism.
Right.
And so we're seeing that we can stand up against those enemies. We can stand for equality and inclusion against fascism, which unfortunately is growing in our country. And then on a more micro scale, we can stand against our own oppression, the oppression that comes in from the world or even from ourselves. We can stand against depression and anxiety and loneliness and fear and shame and self-doubt. Those are our enemies. And so whether it's personal or on a more systemic scale, we feel that this work that we're doing, and we see that this work we're doing, has in fact had an incredible response. And, you know, there's a lot of research that shows, I wouldn't say a lot, I'll take that back. There is a growing amount of research that shows that fictional characters and stories are exceptional in their ability to reach our minds and hearts and to affect change.
Right. Well, I mean, just look at the entirety of human history. Mythology, Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, mythology tells us the stories of who we are and helps educate us on how to cope with real life and difficult situations. Comic books and film are modern mythologies. They are our current way of telling those same stories, those same classic stories that have been told for generations before now. So I always kind of find it strange when people, you know, belittle comic books or they belittle, you know, comic book films, because these are just the mythical stories that we all have been telling each other since we could tell stories around a campfire, right?
Yes. And bringing this back to Doctor Who, I've always loved this property, all of it, because of the credos of nonviolence that the Doctor has, because the Doctor uses his mind and his heart instead of weapons to solve problems. And because of the inclusive nature of Doctor Who. And it's just really extremely exciting. I'm grateful for how well we've been embraced by the Doctor Who community. I hope it's okay that I mentioned Gallifrey, where we've been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're all fans.
Thank you. I figured where we've been in residence, you know, for several years. Sean Lyons has been incredibly generous to give us a table there, and we've met a lot of wonderful Who fans. And in fact, Raymond is wearing a shirt that we created that Raymond and his partner created for Gallifrey.
I love that quote.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
It goes.
I cried when that monologue came out. Like,
Yeah.
it literally brought me to tears.
Yeah. I have chills now as you say it. It goes along with our Be Kind campaign, which Raymond can tell you more about, but I'll just say I love our Be Kind campaign because it involves t-shirts and other merchandise. And it is how we created our curriculum. We didn't get any big grant. It's very difficult to get grants when you're a young organization working in the field of education because everything has to be vetted before people want to give money, which is understandable. But our program has been created by crowdsourced empathy, people coming on board and saying, here's my $25 for a Be Kind shirt. It's a wonderful message and I believe in the work you do. And that $25 at a time is how we've painstakingly created our program. I'm a volunteer. Raymond has been volunteer. Neither of us have ever made any money on this in all the years we've worked on it. We just pay our psychologists and our educators to create these programs. So it's really exciting to be able to do that with such an important message as Be Kind. Raymond, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, earlier when you were saying about giving the curriculum away for free, same with the comic books. This is how we do it. This is why we're able to do it. These comic books, we're going to print 2,000 of them so we can send them all across the continent. And it's based on people donating, getting Be Kind t-shirts. And yeah, Gallifrey was always, we always sell out of these there. And this quote was just the perfect addition to our Be Kind shirts. But yeah, it's been great. Gallifrey's been amazing. I can't wait to come down to your convention next.
Oh, looking forward to that.
Much.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know, I think it's telling with Doctor Who, his primary weapon that he carries around is a screwdriver, which is a tool of repair. Right? It's a tool of repair. It's a brilliant, subtle message of the Doctor.
Yeah. Repair. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about Doctor Who is that the Doctor's tool is a tool of repair, not destruction.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Which I think is amazing.
That is pretty beautiful. And, you know, as we see things that are happening systemically in our country with Black Lives Matter and with other systems, frankly, of white supremacy that many that we are working to dismantle, you know, for the sake of inclusion. It's really interesting to see how sometimes even the best efforts can turn into violent exchanges, and that ruins it for everyone. And so in taking a look at why that happens, it's because our emotions often take over. People who haven't been taught to manage their emotions and just feel that they can act upon their emotions. No one is denying their right to be angry.
No.
That is definitely something I think we would all be feeling if we could put ourselves in their shoes. Being a child who grows up in a community that's threatened by police violence or by systems of white supremacy or by systems of ongoing chronic poverty, that would make me angry too.
Even looking at TV and not seeing anyone like you on TV. That's
right.
How is that a way to grow up?
Right.
Yeah, look, you know, when I saw Moana, I was kind of shocked at how emotional I got watching this, you know, Disney movie about, you know, Pacific Islanders and didn't realize how much I didn't see myself on screen. And then I was watching Hamilton, and the guy who's playing George Washington, my 10-year-old nephew says, he looks a lot like you, you know, and I realized there, I was like, I probably would have pursued acting a lot harder, except I didn't see myself being able to get roles when I was that age, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. As much as I loved acting, I didn't see any opportunities in it for me. That's why I became a director and a producer, because, you know, it just seemed the only path that was truly available to me. These systemic ways that things exist are hard to recognize if you're not experiencing it. you know.
Well, and do you feel like Sean seeing that character who reminded him of his uncle, like that has to be empowering for him because he also looks like him, you know?
He brought it up.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
my 10-year-old nephew is the one who brought it up and said, he looks just like you, you know, and it means something.
And David, I just want to say you are such a wonderful writer-director. I've seen you in action, and I'm not just blowing smoke here. You really are so talented at what you do, and it's not too late if you want to be, if you want to work as an actor more. I know you have, but if you want more, go for it. I think a lot of times
I was starting to, and then this weird virus thing happened.
Yeah, I know. You told me. I know.
But no, it's just one of those things, and we have to be understanding of everybody's experience and how unique it is. And I think that's part of the journey towards understanding is you have to learn to empathize with where other people are coming from. And a lot of bullying, I think, comes from a place of not allowing yourself to understand what that other person's experience truly is. It's a complete inability to empathize with the person that you're putting pressure on because they're different than you, because they see things differently than you. They've experienced their life in a way you're not familiar with. And I think if we all took a little bit more time to sit back and actually talk to one another and listening is key to change. And I think we need to do more listening and less arguing.
Well said, David. Chances are, if you're watching and listening to this, you won the birth lottery. All of us have the ability right now to be on a device, have internet access, have some knowledge of Doctor Who and other television shows, and an immense amount of power that we can use to make the world better. And here's the thing. All of us could have been born anywhere. We could all be children with AIDS in Zimbabwe. We could all be children born with cancer, born into abusive homes, worse than we can possibly imagine. Maybe you were. Maybe you have things in your own life that are incredible deep needs that other people don't have. But one thing that we all have is the ability to stand up for ourselves and the ability to stand up for each other. And if it's only the Black community standing up for Black Lives Matter, it will never work. That will just sound like noise to so many people. If it's only Pacific Islanders standing up for themselves, if it's only women standing up for ourselves, the world will never get any better because it just seems like, oh, that group again. When we all realize that we all could be anyone and that we all want the same things, peace and justice for our lives. And then we can truly have the empathy and the energy that allows us to stand up for each other and that says, I'm standing with you until the end, until we get what you need, even though I already have it, until we get what you need because you need it too. Then we'll have the world that we want to live in, pardon the reference, but then we'll have to live the world where we can all live long and prosper, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, we could talk forever.
So, yeah.
But we are coming up on time. Whitney, you got one last question?
Oh, I actually have 2 questions. Can I ask both?
Ask both. We'll finish with these 2 questions.
Okay, these 2 questions. So my first question is, as you're talking, Chase, one thing that struck me was my husband and I have had this discussion quite a few times, the idea that hurt people hurt people. So in the curriculum that you guys have built, are there stories that address bullies who finally recognize that they are the bully and how they can change themselves or anything of that nature? Because I feel like that's kind of one of the problems that needs to be addressed more so than the kids who are getting bullied, but the ones who recognize, oh, I am the bully in this situation, and how do I change that? Because usually it's kids that come from homes where something has happened that they start having that personality. So I was just curious.
Absolutely. Great question, Whitney. Yes, we are very strong and committed to our programs for restorative justice. Carrie Goldman is our co-founder and curriculum director, and she does programs in restorative justice every week in different schools or in virtual classrooms. She is truly an expert on this, and she has built that part of our program out of the understanding that, as you said, hurt people hurt people. If a child is acting out in the classroom and hurting another child, it's because that child has probably, most likely, been either bullied or abused at home. Or, look, everyone is only giving what they have inside. And so we do get to the root of that with personal conversations, with teachers being instructed and led and encouraged to have those conversations. Really, bullying prevention is a holistic issue. It involves the parents, the teachers, the children, and the school administration. So we do address that in our curriculum very specifically. And we have empathy and compassion for those kids who are bullies, because they are hurting for some very specific reasons, and we want to find out why. And we also don't want those kids to grow up, you know, if you're bullied by this kid in kindergarten, chances are if nothing happens, you're going to still be bullied by him in 6th grade, and it's going to be hell for everyone. So yes, we do.
And it's super important to talk about that, because a lot of people respond without asking that question and say that the bully is not the victim, and people get really upset and really sensitive about this subject. So it's really a crucial thing to talk about. And so it's a really important, it's one of the best questions anyone's ever asked.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm really glad you asked that question.
I teach, so these things, you know, they come up in real life a lot for me. So I figured, you know what, I'll ask it.
Super important question to talk about.
My second question in regards to your program is, what's next for you guys? In the ideal future, what do you see this program becoming, or what would you, in perfect world, what is your greatest wish for this program becoming?
In the perfect world, we retire it because we don't need it anymore. Yeah, right.
Yes, well said.
Oh, we're not quite there yet. Yeah.
We're not quite there yet, and we most likely won't be
In our
very
lifetime.
time. But that is our goal. It is by no means our goal to win or be the biggest program or anything. Ultimately, we'd love for our jobs to be obsolete. In a realistic world, what we'd really love to see is widespread dissemination of this program, because we do see that it can reach kids who can't be reached any other way. There's a lot of programs where kids are taught, like, don't bully and be inclusive. And they sometimes work for some kids, and that's great. And we support them. That's part of why I named this with Carrie when we began. I named this a coalition, because we're all together in this. We don't have to win. We don't have to be the biggest one. We just want to help bring healing where possible. And we see that these stories do heal lives. So we want to make this work available. My dream is to make it available for free to any child who needs it, to be able to get the funding to be able to keep the organization running and to take care of our people while making mental health available free of charge.
Well, that's fantastic. And people who are interested can check you out at popcultureherocoalition.org, correct?
It's actually popculturehero.org. Again,
popculturehero.org. Okay.
And Raymond, do you want to give the social media and merch?
Yeah, we're Superhero IRL on all the social media platforms, and for our Be Kind shirts, bekindmerch.org.
Oh, nice. Bekindmerch.org. That's beautiful.
You got glitter too.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to us about what you're doing and all the good work that you guys are doing. You know, I greatly appreciate that you exist and you're in the world and that you're out there doing kind things for people. We need more of that, for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks again for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you so much. You are, you know this. I don't have to tell you. David, you're one of my favorites. Absolutely, anywhere. It's always wonderful to see you, and Whitney, it's great to see you again as always. And
well,
thank you, and we look forward to the day when it's safe. You guys all be safe out there and wear your masks, and hopefully we'll see you in person at San Diego Who.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we'll get you down sometime. Hopefully next year.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all for attending SD WhoCon virtual. I hope you're having fun, and I think there's 1 or 2 more panels left in the convention after this one, so go check out the schedule at sdwhocon.org. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.